You know, I really hate to leave a great story incomplete. I say we finish it. We have finally returned to our Ye Olde Knights series to meet up with our medieval muttonheads one last time. I must say it kind of feels like I just found my child that I lost in the supermarket about 6 months ago, and he looks a little different and things are a little different, but hey, I found him again. Unfortunately, I haven't returned to this series for quite a while because a lot of the mods that we were using were not updated for 1.4, and a lot of them still are not. We're still having quite a bit of issues with them. For example, I can't make colonists pick things up and things like that, just to name a few issues. But at the very least, with all that being said, I felt that I owed you guys an ending to this series. We have a few series that I never ended properly at all, and I did not want this to be one of them. In the meantime, our Black Knights Guild are on their way home from their successful nuclear raid that we did last episode on an Imperial base. A few of them, unfortunately, are still very injured, and without our leader, Shark, they are still very disorganized as well. Shark, of course, as many of the others that we have lost thus far, was really a bigger piece of the glue that held the community together, that held together our noble house of Rat's Mountain. Unfortunately, the House of Rat is not what it once was, and this war with the Empire has made our nobles weary. A good example of how weary they are is the Black Knights Guild limping home, hungry and exhausted, carrying nuclear bombs all the way back to our armory. And as you'll be able to see in Lantabar's case, some of the Black Knights Guild even decided to give up. Well, really, it was only Lantabar, but we couldn't allow this to happen. A Black Knight is sworn to the crown and to the House of Rat until their death. We must keep them here. Now, King George and Queen Busto and some of the other nobles thought maybe it would be a good idea to celebrate our victory against the Imperial settlement with a bit of a drum party in the throne room, so they decided to throw one, of course. Everyone showed up. All of the nobility was here except for Galro, who was unfortunately having a mental break, but we'll catch him up later on how much fun we had. Even Lantabar showed up, literally hours after trying to give up, but now she was in here dancing her ass off with the rest of us. However, there was a bit of an issue with the drum party, and I'm not talking about the drums or the music or anything like that. That was all great, but literally every single noble person was in there except for Galro, meaning that no one was outside to hear if any enemies were coming or if any landed nearby, which unfortunately would be our downfall. Now, we hadn't realized that the Imperials had landed nearby. We really didn't think that they had a force big enough to do this at this point, as we had taken out massive settlements nearby, so we didn't think they had the manpower or the capability to send troops here this fast after we retaliated. For us, that it would appear they had the manpower and they had the means. The Empire must be much larger and much powerful than we originally anticipated, and with this siege it would appear they also brought nuclear warheads along with them. The first nuclear bomb they fired landed in our great dining hall, and unfortunately a great fire erupted. Thankfully, our walls were strong enough to contain the blast within, otherwise we would have all perished, but it still destroyed our great hall. It unfortunately would seem the tables had been turning for quite a while. With the death of many of our nobility, our morale was extremely low, and with us attacking the Imperials every chance we got, they were dying for retribution, they were dying for revenge, thus their morale was extremely high. Now don't get me wrong, morale is not the only thing that matters. We were ready to protect our home, the only thing was, we were severely outnumbered and outgunned at this point, and they were breaking through our walls, coming right for us. Our nobility banded together like the family that they were. they would fight off this enemy together or die trying. And if they did die, they would die as a family, as a whole. Unfortunately, though, that did end up being the case, first with Lantabar, and unfortunately we ended up losing another of our Black Knights named Gorar. It would seem that our injured and tired Black Knights were the first to begin dropping. But just as well, Lagua and King George were not far behind them. With the king dead, things were looking very desperate. All of our members began to fall. Weaves, with a holy hand grenade, looked on at a nuke that was dropped by Lagua. We would take as many of them to hell with us as we could. The nuclear warheads that the Black Knights Guild had dropped in the fields when the siege begun went off, killing every single person nearby, excluding a few of the Imperial soldiers who were lucky enough to be outside of the walls when it went off, and our Knight Galro, who was still having a mental break at this point and was wandering around somewhere. I also caught the morbid view of Gauborka's corpse burning in the dining hall, somewhere that she had ate so many times before and laughed and joked and discussed plans with the other nobles. But my friends, I am afraid that I must say the House of Rat has fallen. Finally, our empire has come to a crumble. Though it has been a wonderful journey and I have enjoyed every single second of it, thank you guys for supporting me throughout this series. It's actually been almost an entire year. Well, it's going to be quite a while before a year is up, but we actually started this, I believe, in July of 2022. Of course, it's February 2023. I didn't originally intend for it to take this long, of course, for this series to be finished. We went months there without any episode, unfortunately. You know, and like I mentioned, I just want to give you guys some type of ending. This isn't really the ending that I had planned on originally, but I thought it would do. I apologize, my heater came on in the background to keep me nice, snuggly, and warm as I make this video. Oh, ever so professional Rat Knight, as per usual. But honestly, thank you guys ever so much for your support in this series. I want to say that this series, I believe, was the first one where I really realized that this kind of narrative style that we do with it and stuff, where it's more narrative based. I know RimWorld is very storyteller, you know, narrative based anyhow, but where we focus less on me playing and more of what's going on with the characters while I'm playing, what I'm seeing, you know, to show you guys and kind of give it a more cinematic feel. So this series, in my opinion at least, is the one that's responsible for everything that came after with a narrative style and stuff. You know, it was kind of like my baby. I loved it. I really did. Especially after we had first started, and it seemed like everyone really enjoyed it, and I could really get into it. During this time as well, starting this, I was also watching the show Game of Thrones for the first time ever, so a lot of stuff, you know, was the medieval kind of style was really inspired from that. You know, I really like that show, and obviously I feel that, you know, it kind of inspired me to do a medieval theme as well. So, and like I mentioned, I kind of wanted to throw in there, this wasn't the original ending. You know, the update with 1.4 has really kind of screwed a lot of things up in this save, and the series was basically over anyhow. This was going to be the last episode, and I didn't really get to do what I wanted, so I wanted to at least talk about it. The idea was always going to be that at least one of our nobility was going to sacrifice themselves in some way, shape, or form. I think what I had planned in my head was we would do this massive raid on an just huge Imperial base, or even a smaller one possibly. Anyhow, we would capture like one of their commanders or their president or, you know, a leader like figure in their society or in their ranks or whatever, and we would take them and they would give us information on this massive city essentially, and one of our nobility would be in there fighting or whatever, and they would get pinned down and they would have to detonate a nuke, destroying the entire city. So I kind of always had something similar to this ending in mind. Obviously it wasn't executed near as well in this episode, and I apologize for that. Like I mentioned, just with it updating and, you know, just the issues that we're having with that, I couldn't really achieve that. I can't even make the pawns pick things up or manually micromanage them. You know, it's causing issues, so I couldn't really achieve what I wanted to do, unfortunately. But honest to God, seeing this colony again for the first time in months, because I haven't seen this colony since, I think, the beginning to mid of October, was just amazing. It was beautiful. I had a lot of the armors and stuff like were now compatible with the HD pond textures and everything, so it looks so much better. And it was just, it really was. I made the joke earlier about seeing a child that I left at the grocery store. It kind of really was like that for me, because it's like, oh my God, here's my little baby colony that I love so much, and here it is again. So it was awesome. But guys, I want to thank you one last time in this series for watching this series and for supporting this series. I love you guys so much. I really appreciate you. Guys are amazing. And I apologize once again. I know this wasn't exactly the ending that we all wanted to see, but at least it's an ending. I hope you guys have a wonderful day.